Oh, it's going very well. Nairobi County and the national government, we've partnered on a number of things, and I'm really excited. We have a lot of works going on our roads. We have a lot of work going on along the river. That is a whole 50 billion project. We've now made, I think, close to 10-15 kilometers of the trunk sewer and restoration of the riparian. And even as we do that, we are preparing for El Nino. We've commissioned and advertised, tendered and procured drainage works worth around 3 billion, 2.4 billion to be precise, across the city. And we continue to tell the people, let us be prepared. Let us know, especially those on low ground, and who have gone back to the riparian. Before the government comes to demolish, let's just move from those areas. We know how many meters it is from the riparian, because that is the area where we have most damage and loss of lives. Because it will not come as a surprise. We know it is October, and so we must be ready before October. And so we'll be inspecting the works that these contractors will be doing to make sure that it is good. We're doing drainage outfalls across the city, starting with the hotspots. The areas where we know every year there's a perennial, drainage issue, there's a flood. Those are the first areas that we're looking at and expanding. And we'll do another round of that kind of work because due to climate change, the sheer amount of rainfall that comes to the city is more than what any of our drains were engineered for decades ago. But we have to fix it now, and that is what we're doing. The only thing I'm cautioning, and I've called a meeting for road agencies, is that I have seen a lot of destruction of trees, and it is illegal. No agency, no individual is allowed to cut down a tree without permission from the county government. That is the law, that's the constitution. We've seen trees being cut down around State House. We've seen trees, and that is by KURA and KeNHA. We've seen trees being cut down, across the city. Even Kenya Power, they've been doing it because of their lines. A power line can be relocated. That tree took decades to grow. There are trees that are 50 to 100 years old, but they're being cut because of one power line that you can relocate or that you can put underground. And so we want to caution them. We will arrest their officers if they continue to do that. But for what the destruction that has been done, a penalty must be put because they must restore, and they must plant a multiple of what they've cut, because it is really, really going against the law. You cannot cut on a tree without a written notification and permission issued by the Director of Environment. That is what the law says, and many of these agencies, and we discussed it at the summit, that any development that happens in any county must have approval from the planning committees of those counties, even by national government. That was a resolution of the last summit, because when you talk about illegal developments, it is not just by private developers, even by the government, and that is why we have these platforms to work together. So we're really putting them on notice. I've written to them for a meeting this week for us to review and for us to see what remedial action they do, and moving forward, not a single tree will allow, this is our legacy, it takes, even look at the trees around us, they've been here for 50, 60 years, they're older than all of us here, but you want to cut it because of one power line or because of a road. Relocate it, like what we did on Uhuru Highway in Westlands. We relocated it. We thought that was a mugumu actually, but it was not. But still, it was valued by the people of Nairobi. We used to have a lot of nice boulevards, beautiful, with jacaranda, and that was the essence of our city. And so yes, development is good. We want it. I've been pushing for that development, but it can be done in a sustainable manner, in a way that, protects the environment. And so while we are doing this cooperation, and I'm glad this week we agreed with the president yesterday, we'll have a meeting to discuss the metro system for Nairobi, the Nairobi Rail, which we passed in our cabinet on Tuesday. It's been a long time coming. This has been discussed from 1948. If you look at the 1948 master plan for Nairobi, it talks about a metro rail system. If you look at the 1972, what they call the urban study group for Nairobi, it spoke about a metro system going underground in the CBD, coming out, in Upper Hill, Westlands, and moving down to Eastlands. In the 2014 JICA-led new plan, that was a plan. There have always been plans, but no one has been bold enough to move towards it. It is an ambitious project, $7.7 billion, but we must move the steps towards it. These days, there are a lot of methods of financing, blended finance, a certain percentage by government, a certain percentage by pension funds, a certain percentage by, development banks, World Bank, CAFDB. So we've blended that. And there's transport-oriented development, there's land value capture in the areas where we'll have stations, because we have more than 20 stations across. And so I'm really excited that we'll have that session now with the president, so that he can now bring into his cabinet, because it's a joint effort between Nairobi and the national government. These are the things that will completely transform our city. Many parts of the world, people don't even have to own cars. I'll get the train at this time, I'll be here by this time. We waste so much money, so many hours in traffic in our city. We need to be a 20-minute city. That is a worldwide standard, that you can move from one place to another in 20 minutes across the whole spectrum in the city of Nairobi. And so that is what is coming up this week. A lot to look forward to. We'll be sharing designs and plans. I will be setting up a project management unit between the national government and ourselves in external resources. We'll look at how we can tap into the National Infrastructure Fund to also support this, and we'll be able to update Kenyans and Nairobians, because this is a national thing, that will affect. You cannot move to Singapore and get stuck in traffic. We've done everything else and we're moving that way, but we cannot be a city. There's no global capital that does not have proper mobility, and it integrates with the BRT, it integrates with our matatu system, it integrates with the NMT. I'm sure you've seen we're doing a lot of non-motorized transport networks across the city. In the CBD, if you look at what we've done from the airport coming all the way to Westlands, the walkways, we're doing the flower beds, we're beautifying our city. But for it to be really the capital we want, we must be able to be mobile and save so much money in what we're doing. So there's also legislative proposals that are coming about betterment fees, about land value capture, about the Mobility and Mass Transit Authority. So all of those are things that we should look forward to. We'll have a lot of public participation. Fortunately, there's not much compensation you do when you go underground. All of that belongs to the government, and so that reduces the cost. But there are places where we'll go overground, and have stations at the ends from Dandora side before we connect now to Kiambu, coming up to Rongai in phase 2, Ngong Road, Rongai. We have a lot of population. We calculate people per hour per head. We have a huge population that comes from that side, and so I'm really excited, because that is where we must go. That's a vision for the city of Nairobi.
One more thing. Yesterday you touched on the additional county has been very successful.
Yeah.
And now you touched on probably next year, this financial year,
yes,
you can tap into day secondary schools.
Yes. A big cost of secondary education, day secondary education, is food. And as Nairobi County, we have the capacity to feed all our day secondary school children. And so, based on the MOU, the intergovernmental agreement we had with the national government, we've been very successful with the primary schools. We feed now 326,000 children every single day. And it has increased performance. It has increased attendance by more than 45% in our schools. And so we're saying those who go to day secondary schools also should benefit. And so we're working closely with the ministry. We've mapped out, we've costed it. Many of them are in the vicinity of the routes that our trucks use to take food to the primary schools. And so those in grade 10 up to 12 should also benefit. And so that is something we have factored in our budget in this, in this new financial year. And we continue growing and improving and serving our people. We're very happy. If you look at the children, from 2023 December to date, there's been tremendous performance, improvements. Attendance is 100%. We're the only county that has 100% day-on-day school attendance, in the country. And I monitor with this system. The kids all wear it. And we see what is happening in the society. The parents are happy. Stress levels have gone down. You may not know whether you get money today or tomorrow, or you will not get, but your child has eaten. That changes a lot. And so many of those who brought the pressure are those of our children who went to the secondary schools, and they already had been feeding in primary schools, and it's the same family, So we're following you until you finish, and we'll go with you to university. We'll go with you to them as the resources apply. And also to announce to Nairobians that the Revenue Authority of Nairobi is also commencing a lot of recovery proceedings starting this week on rate defaulters, because we need these resources to do this work that we all want. We want our roads fixed, we want medicine in our hospitals, we want everything covered for the city, and so we'll announce, and people have received notices. Let us all do our part to build the city we want. We can't just sit down. We owe billions. The county is being carried on the shoulders of the poor people, It is the 50 bob in the market that is carrying the city. It is the traders, the mama mboga, because they pay every day. But the big people who own large tracts of land or properties and apartments are not paying. It's not fair. You cannot have your cake and eat it. And so we enlisted, the Revenue Authority enlisted 6 different debt collectors, different companies. They all have a barrow, northern barrow, southern barrow, northeastern, southeastern and southern barrow and central barrow. And they are coming, and no one can, unless you pay the system, there's no individual who can help you. Don't call me, don't call anyone. Until money enters, that's when you will move from red to green, because we must do it. And we gave people time, and we told them installments, work out an arrangement. The Rating Act tells us even to deny you services. It's unfair, but really, what we want to see as a better city is funded by something. So I think that's it for today. We're grateful. Na Mungu awabariki.